Alright, what's up, guys? Got a little nice NBA slate here today. I'm just on for a second while the stream goes live, and welcome everybody, and thank you for being members. Looking forward to breaking down the slate today. Getting back to the new week. Sunday was a little bit tougher for me. It was a little bit of a sanity check Sunday. So I'm looking forward to having two chances tonight to kind of bounce back. So I thought I'd mix it up today and start off with a little cash content, which we haven't really done much of. So, and all the resources on the site, I recommend really going for head-to-heads above double-ups and 50-50s. The reason why is in a head-to-head, you have 100% of your opponents be recreational players, ideally. In a 50-50, I mean, what happens a lot of the time is pros will join about 75% of the entries, and then it will be a worse ratio for you. So the easiest places, this is kind of some beginner content, so bear with me if you're an expert here already, but Yahoo and Fantasy Draft are preferable over DraftKings and FanDuel for head-to-heads as far as being able to choose who you want to play, which is like the biggest part of a head-to-head. So what I recommend is utilizing their block feature to take care of some of the guys that maybe you don't want to play and restrict them from entering. So what I'm going to do here, I will just go through my lobby or the lobby of Yahoo and make a note of all the players that maybe I don't want to play against. And then I'll go in, basically like everyone posting a high stakes head-to-head is probably going to be pretty good. Of course you have to overcome a pretty big skill gap to make money because they're taking money as a rake. Fantasy draft, perhaps you can be successful playing some tougher opponents as well, because obviously rate free, you're paying the monthly membership fee. So alright, seeing a lot of familiar names in this lobby here. Let's see how quickly I can knock this out. This is especially important if you don't have a handle that is well recognized in the community, because I guarantee you there are a lot of people that just spend hours a day like looking through these lobbies and trying to pick off guys they don't recognize. So kind of took a note of all the guys that I maybe don't want to play, or yeah. So there's no shame in that. I'm just trying to restrict it to people who I can get an easy W, and really, like, if you're trying to make money, that's what it's about. I'm trying to win some cash here. So I haven't played a lot of head-to-heads recently because of kind of micromanaging it all, but this would be how I would approach it if I did want to make more money on a regular basis here. So I can just go through. Ooh. There's imposter propagates here. It looks like I already have some of these guys blocked, so I haven't played a ton of cash on Yahoo, but I imagine it's kind of a double whammy here, because when they have less volume, it makes cash games look more appealing relative to tournaments. In addition, Yahoo has a pretty nice stream of casual players come in from their season long. I'd feel pretty confident playing any person from Yahoo season long in DFS. So I will move to the questions in a little bit here. Just finished doing this. Of course, the tricky part about playing cash is you need to react to all the news, and that having trouble finding some of these guys, but anyway, that restricts how many sites you can play on. I think that's why we see people who may be cash game specialists, because it's just a little bit much to manage all the micromanagement towards lock. Alright, Brit. I don't want to play that guy. Fuck that guy. It's a members only stream, so I can swear here. Hopefully no one's offended. Apologies. Alright, so if you're going to make money in cash, you gotta create your own contests here. That's pretty much the only way you can play weak players. Lower stakes better, but I don't want to play stakes that are too low because people might call me out here. So if I was a beginning player, I'd probably play as much volume as I could at the lowest stakes. Alright, so got my head-to-heads here. Hopefully I remember to update these throughout the day. Alright, so the way I do cash, I mean, this is pretty simple. Just go to Fantasy Cruncher, crunch the optimal lineup as close to lock as you can, and plop it in there. So, Jonte Murray, Holiday, Norman Powell. We got Fred VanVleet, Jaren Jackson. That might be some guy I might consider taking out of there because he's kind of a high variance player. So let's see how that changes this. PJ Tucker, a little bit safer, but lower projection, so that reduced variance will benefit me if I'm playing someone with a worse lineup than I have by a significant margin. If it's closer, I'd rather take Jaren Jackson potentially. Alright. The Maharasi says he usually scoops Brits head-to-head, so maybe I went overboard with the blocking here. But I mean, that guy's a pretty cool guy. I met him a few times. Alright, Rise and Grind. You play cash or tournaments? What ratio of cash tournaments would you recommend? I mean, cash games are great if you can play the right competition because you can make money without very much risk at all. And that's a great way to build a bankroll. The tricky part people have is that, ArcDoc says, what up, gangsta, what up? I think the tricky part is if you just enter all the cash games, you're going to lose money because of the rake. This is too tough. You need to win like 55% of the time or more. You need to have a big skill advantage for people to do that. And the way I've just had so much more success in head-to-heads. It's like 10% ROI per head-to-head compared to maybe a couple percent for double ups if it's even positive. I mean, some double ups I'm not even convinced are worth playing at all. Of course, some people do have kind of like rake back deals with sites. I don't, but maybe they accommodate some of the cash grinders with that. I really don't have any insight there. So this is a nice little quick way to play some DFS. It took me 10 minutes to kind of block everyone, create my games, and then what I'll do if I was serious about playing these head-to-heads on a daily basis is I would go and look at everyone's lineups in my games. If they have good lineups, then I might add them to the block list because you need to be a favorite by probably like 5 points or more as far as projected points to come out ahead in the long run. Alright, so let's break out today's slate here. I know most people are interested in GPPs, but it's nice to... People always ask me about the cash, so I gotta spend some time going over that. Alright. Timberwolves. Jeff Teague is questionable. That's gonna be a huge factor. They seem to breadcrumb us, not really telling people like when guys come back or not. So it being the first game of the night is really nice because now we don't have to really plan ahead for that. Whereas before, when it was at 8 p.m., we kind of had to either pray, put Jared Culver in without knowing about Teague, or I guess about an hour and a half before the game because they've been announcing Teague out, so not bad. Blake Griffin's back. Derrick Rose is questionable. Tim Frazier's back. The end result is I'm not really interested in anyone except Drummond. This optimal lineup being just typing in one lineup in FC. So doing 100 lineups and taking top projected isn't recommended, says Chris. So Chris, what I did, I didn't add in randomness or uniques or anything, exposures. So when you click crunch without adding any settings, it just optimizes for points. Just like Darth Bane said. Alright. So I'm kind of going through the slate to guide my single entry process. Porzingis is back for the Mavs. His minutes have been trending upwards. This ownership looks like maybe it's not updated, so I'm not going to rely on that quite as much as normal. Maybe if let's see if the FanDuel is, that just doesn't seem right. So I'm guessing what happened there is some projections, or some sites weren't accounting for him being back, if I had to guess. Alright. Hayward is out for the Celtics. Cantor's in. The net result, I imagine Tatum will start at power forward. Smart will slide in small guard, shooting guard. Jaylen Brown will move over to small forward. It's just a guess at this point, but it's just another 7 p.m. game. So, I get cash players, but I'm go big or go home kind of guy, says Alex. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's why there's so much action in GPPs, and it's hard to make ends meet in cash. Alright, so Memphis, John Morant's back, Brandon Clark's back. I think that the matchup with the Spurs certainly not ideal, but maybe take a stab on some guys. Spurs with this matchup versus Memphis, who plays at one of the tightest paces, you gotta really like that, and a lot of these guys are grading out pretty well for me. Houston, everyone's healthy. Not much to really comment on here other than the Pelicans are a nice matchup. 126 points is a huge projection. Capela's been playing a lot more minutes. Oh, close the clipboard. Good recommendation here. Thanks for that. Alright. The Pelicans really, though, have the more up-tempo matchup. Houston playing at a huge rate. CH fan, what do you go through how you use the boom bust tool? Yeah, that's a great idea. Let me use that here. Besides Boucher, do you see any sub 4K value out there? Ask Jared. Let me see. Okay. So JJ Redick and Kenrich Williams started the last game with Lonzo out. This power forward spot, you can't really predict who starts from game to game. But versus PJ Tucker, I would have to guess maybe Williams, who's maybe the smaller power forward there. Favors played a lot of minutes last game, so he makes a nice play. Alright. Utah don't really have much insight other than the fact that Golden State's a really nice matchup. Draymond Green's back. His price looks decent. Russell's been crushing. Pascal's back, so really all the small forwards and shooting guards I'm not super interested in that team. Alright. Toronto. Lowry's out, so we should see Van Vliet get more assists possibly, more pretty huge minutes already. Siakam should be the lead scorer as he has been, but even more usage. Serge Ibaka's out too, so Gasol and Boucher, or however you pronounce his name, they kind of are the center rotation. Boucher played in some minutes with Gasol, but I wouldn't count on that. And then the rest of the guys, Norman Powell starting, I think he has a lot of potential. Kawhi, for some reason his price is down to 9,400 on DraftKings, so that's really nice. So like insane usage and assists so far this season. If there's a player you really like, would you kick him or try to be over the field in 20 max? I'm not afraid of going to players I really like at all, and I think that as long as you have a couple kind of sleeper plays in your lineup, you'll be good. Would you ever slot in two guys at 100% and optimize around them? I'll let fantasy cards kind of handle who put in. Alright, so lineup time. Boucher, I really don't love this guy. Like, I have to be honest. Like, big game last game. Let's see how it went here. So he came in for Anunoby, which was actually pretty interesting, but it was because of 2 fouls. So I think maybe Boucher played more minutes because of Anunoby's foul trouble. If he didn't foul, I would have to imagine that instead of these 5 minutes in the first quarter, he would have played these 2 minutes that Gasol left. Maybe we would have seen 2 shifts from Gasol instead of 3. So if you kind of factor that in, we're looking at maybe 1 shift in the middle. If Gasol plays 15 minutes in the first half, that would be about 9 for Boucher. Boucher. Says Scotian motion. But thank you. I appreciate that. Would you not play Gasol and Boucher together? I think that's smart to not have Gasol and Boucher in the same lineup. So, because if Gasol has a bad game, maybe Boucher gets more run, and Boucher has a bad game, Gasol might get more run. So I think that you're best off with one of the two. So based on all this, I would have to estimate Boucher gets on average. I have him at 20 minutes. I think that's pretty fair. At that price, he's about 3.4K times 5. That's 17. And he's at 22, so 5 points above average. That's good, but not unfadable. Alright. Of course, Anunoby gets in foul trouble quite a bit, it seems, so that's another wrinkle. Alright. So, because there's no value other than this guy, you gotta, maybe I'll make one lineup with him and one without him. That seems like a huge pivot. And Powell, I think also probably, these are the top 2 value guys offhand. Willie Cauley-Stein's kind of interesting. He's been getting more minutes, but Draymond Green being back is a potential threat. Alright. Eric Gordon, 3.9K. That's pretty insane. That's like a 4K guy I like, I guess. This price for Porzingis seems pretty appealing. Alright. Center and small shooting guards seem like top heavy on FanDuel today. How much Boucher do you think you'll have in 150 lines? That's a good question. I haven't really done the MME yet, so it's hard to say. But I'd be happy if I matched this 50%. I could see myself going under if I felt like Gasol overall was a better play. Dwight Powell is $2 more than Boucher on Yahoo. Strong pivot. Oh yeah. Dwight Powell is much more essential to the Mavs than Boucher is to the Raptors. So I think that's huge. This price for Aldridge, that's just 6,300. Like, man, he hasn't been having a great season, but this matchup is so good. Same with DeRozan. Since I'm hand building, maybe I'll go with one of the two here. Notice Forbes' minutes are up a lot. The usage is up, not the minutes. He's been having really inconsistent minutes. So that's kind of interesting. These prices are really appealing, so maybe I'll go with 2 Spurs here. Forbes is kind of the sneaky one. And then small forward, let's see here. Wiggins' price has gone up. Covington, not a great matchup versus Pistons, but if Teague's out, maybe Okogie could be cool. I really wanted Kawhi in here, so I'm going to slot him in. So I got Powell and Boucher, so I don't necessarily want to get Van Vliet in this lineup. But he's a nice play as well as Siakam. Drummond's a nice price, but Kemba too expensive at 9K on FanDuel. That seems like about the right price for him. So maybe a good contrarian play. Kemba tonight. I feel like Porzingis' price of 7,200 is pretty appealing there, so I want to go for him. Smart, nice value play with Hayward out, and I got 9,800 left. This one, it doesn't look like there's anyone really at that price tag, so I might have to fiddle with this a little bit. Maybe instead of Smart, I will go. Wiggins played some point with no Teague. Yes, his assists have been way up, so if Teague is out, then he could be a good play. Alright. So guard DeJounte Murray. I have Forbes in already, but it doesn't really matter too much, and I feel like DeJounte Murray at some point is going to play a lot of minutes and we're going to catch us off guard here. And then Westbrook at 8,800, that's a pretty nice salary. So I got the 283. Let me check Fantasy Cruncher and see how I'm doing here. In general, I recommend being within 10 points of the optimal. You can make some pivots and still be in that threshold. So, alright. So we run the optimal. $291 and mine was $283, so that fits the bill. Alright, now I will unmute me a little bit. So this is not FC Pro, so let me load up my Fantasy Cruncher profile here. It's kind of confusing because I obviously I had a Fantasy Cruncher account before we started working together, so I just continued using that. Alright. So I've been setting the randomness to about 40 with normal distribution. For classic, that'd be about 15. I'll go in and make a couple rules here. No Boucher and Gasol lineups, and another one. Picking up Brandon Clark and Valanciunas lineups. I don't know if they're going to be super popular tonight. Let me just make sure there's no other groups I want to make. Harrell and Zubac, but I don't think I'm going to have Zubac in my player pool, so I'm not going to bother. Alright. So I'm seeing a lot of the same teams here. A ton of Spurs. I feel good about them, but in a tournament, I don't really like stacking one side. Must have players of the other, and I'm not really seeing any Memphis players here, so that one is a little bit tough to stomach. Alright. How much randomness use? I already answered that. 10 to 15% in Classic and 40% in Pro. Making a group of DeRozan or Aldridge is the best way to build, potentially, as the Dasbo. I think that's fine, but I wouldn't rule out a lineup with both because these prices are just too good. It is kind of tough to see them getting there unless Memphis has a big, does better than expected. But in general, I haven't found two teammates to be that correlated unless they take each other's minutes. Alright, so I'm going to delete the bottom projected ones here. So I want to stay within 10 points of the optimal, so that'd be about 282, I think. So I'm going to so the trick here, select none, right click, select lines below, delete them. No Mitchell or Conley in the same line. I don't feel real strong about that because since they play at the same time, it's pretty possible that they both get there. Alright, so I don't want to eliminate too many possibilities because I might rule out a lineup that could be a winner. Alright. I'm going to delete the highest owned. The highest owned lineup I have is at 268 ownership projection. So I'm gonna maybe go for 240. Wow, I'm getting some that are pretty low on here. Let me set at 220 here. That's my cap. Alright. As always, if you have any questions, ask me in the chat here. Mr. Peanut, when it comes to ownership sum, what is your Goldilocks range? Lower is definitely better. What I'm looking for is a lineup that has a good projection for its ownership. What's the difference between Classic and Pro and Cruncher? The big difference for this video is the Pro has ownership projection integrated in automatically. In Classic, you can take the membership and upload your own column of ownership. And then the normal distribution randomness versus regular. And there's one other difference too, that the auto group creator looks like it's FC Pro. Alright. So looks like I'm getting some contrarian plays here. Ingles, hard to feel real confident about him, but it looks like last game was just kind of an anomaly. He's been getting a lot of minutes and nothing's really changing. Good matchup. So I could see myself going to him. Bryn Forbes, I mentioned him. He's someone that a couple of games, one where he's in foul trouble, the others before that were fine. Derek White, someone was saying he's going to be popular. It just seems like every Spur is popping up here. This Porzingis ownership is weird. Not sure what's the deal with that. Probably next update it'll be different. Alright, Josh Hart, 0.3%. That's someone. Wow, these last two games are ugly, but not sure what to make of that. Let me look at the lowest owned lineups now. So one question I got recently was how would you 20 max? I'd probably just go through by hand and pick my 20 lineups that I like. So these are really low in lineups here. Pretty good projection. Alright, can you use the boom bust percentage? Yes, I will do that now. So, Luka is contrarian. That's pretty interesting. So, I'm not super confident about these ownership projections at this point. Let's see what looks like. Might check for the next update, so make sure to get the latest ones with all the news. This was 7 hours ago, so that kind of explains why they're a little wonky here. Alright. Boom bust tool. So this updates automatically with my projection pushes. So for example, it says Kawhi's 18% projected ownership, 38% chance of making value plus 10 in my projections, so that would be someone I really like. For the bust percentage, maybe I'll look at this. Ownership is 54% for Chris Boucher. He's going to bust 23% of the time. So almost 1/4 of the time, I'm getting an edge over 54% of the field, potentially. And Westbrook as well, super high on because of that price being pretty good, but a significant chance of bust here. So Westbrook's a pretty high variance player, and I define a bust as if they score less than 5x, so that'd be 44 Let's look at his game log and kind of see how he's been doing. So 3 games in a row below that, so it's not that much of a stretch that is possible. Thanks, Michael here. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm still winning using my projections and ownership and everything, so I'm pretty confident, especially in the largest field tournaments, we can all do pretty well, especially like adding in your own intuition on top of the stuff we offer on the site. Gabriel says, if you're getting a ton of Spurs, would he set a rule to limit the amount of players? I think that is pretty reasonable at this point because, man, this is insane. So I might set a limit of maximum of 3 Spurs. Or you could set a group. Let's see if I can do something here. Haven't used this a ton. I'm not sure if I can do team 1 here. I guess you can just use this in my data tab. Alright. Do you use boom percentage to calculate your exposures? No. But I mean, I'm trying to use it to decide what lineups are the best. Alright. So let me build a FanDuel lineup here. Thoughts on Tim Frazier if he plays? Axe Achilles. I mean, don't love him. We're speculating at this point because if Derrick Rose plays, Frazier, not very appealing. But I'm kind of thinking that if Frazier plays, like, it's kind of a double whammy, like, shoulder, so I don't think he'd be limited necessarily, but he's pretty cheap. But I'll be a little bit worried that Bruce Brown has kind of surpassed him on the depth chart. Won the 20 max Saturday following your techniques on FC. Says Chris, that's awesome. Congratulations. Alright. Let me build a FanDuel lineup here. So last one I had Boucher. So he's interesting on FanDuel at center, but it looks like both centers are from the same team as far as the most popular ones. It's kind of cool. But maybe going to Drummond could be contrarian. I'll just start my lineup there. The price is pretty good for his season-long performance. With Griffin back, more of a contrarian play for me. Alright. So now I'm looking for some salary relief. Powell is someone I'm going to rely on pretty heavily tonight, I think. Kawhi's a little bit more reasonably priced on FanDuel, so not necessarily a lock. FanDuel 7K, 36, that's a pretty good value. Alright. Westbrook's more on FanDuel, not a lock there. Brandon Ingram's pretty nice. Favors power forward. Alright. DeJounte Murray, I think, is really nicely priced on FanDuel here. The other Spurs are priced up a little bit more than DraftKings, so probably not going to get as many. Derek White, look, 4,400 is nice. Won't put those two guys in the same lineup though. If close to lock, you're still getting 80 to 90% Boucher, risky value. Would you walk that back? I'm not afraid of Boucher. I think that, he's really productive and he's going to play, but the ownership is pretty out there. So I think that, yeah, it's tricky to answer because I could see myself playing 100% if I felt like those lineups just had a lot better chance, but I certainly don't mind a fade. I could go either way. If Joey says that Boucher's popping in the optimizer, but you're not confident, would you consider capping him because he's chalky? I think I would. Yeah, I'd probably Yeah. So I always get kind of spooked by these guys that aren't normally parts of the rotation. That this guy's not even starting, so it's pretty reasonable to think that maybe if he's not playing well, even though he's a good offensive player, he will be on the bench more than you'd hope. Okay. Let's see. So I need maybe a cheap play. Eric Gordon, 4,200. It's an option. I'm not seeing any real good value here. Jermichael Green, 3,700. That's someone I would take a chance on, maybe, kind of. Because I think he's been coming in for Pat, who he's the better player, so maybe that would be a decent kind of value play. Yeah, that's a good point that Chris is making. Mouche is a center on FanDuel, which makes it tougher to get to him. I think that his ownership will be a lot lower for that reason, so not as much a reason to fade, other than opportunity cost here. Alright. Kendrick Williams, man, it's hard to feel confident because he didn't even play a couple games ago. Favorite NBA team? Oh, Pistons for sure. If you mean tonight, probably the Raptors. Okay. Let's see if I can get Luka. No, I can't. Well, that was easy. Luke Kennard, there's a reason to kind of be off him now. Oh, Jarrett Culver, how did I miss him? He's a lock if Teague misses. We should know about lock. I don't want to make a line that could be dead by lock though, so I'll hold off on him. Let me just scroll through and see if there's anyone I really like. I'm not really seeing anyone yet. Austin Rivers, maybe. It could be he's been seeing more run off the bench. Shamat. Yikes. What is your most successful fantasy sport? Asked Mikey. Honestly, I don't know if the sport matters a tremendous amount for me. I've had a lot of luck in baseball, basketball, and football, but those are the highest volume ones too. Manny says you cap players that you feel are bad chalk. I try to use the ownership and projection in conjunction. So if they're bad chalk, you would think the lineups that are highly owned because they're in them wouldn't be as projected as you like, and maybe you'd look to some other lineups. Would you devalue a player if it comes out they're not starting? You think they might, JJ Redick? Yeah, definitely. Not starting is a big hit in fantasy because it brings your minutes from maybe a maximum of 35 to a maximum of 27, unless something weird happens, and that really stinks for fantasy. I got 306. Let me go on here and see what I can get on FanDuel. So if you have any more questions, make sure I get them in now. Uploading the boom bust percentages in FC is a nice way to sort lineups by boom bust, says Mr. Peanut. That's an interesting strategy. I like that. Alright, my max line was 320. My line maybe was 306, so didn't do as good a job here. Okay. This is the Fantasy Cruncher projections. So let me upload mine. Let's see what we'll get here. 312, and I got 306. Contrarian ranking of about 40-50%, so I think that could be a nice lineup there. Doesn't Grant Williams get the bump with Hayward out? Saz. I mean, my best guess. I mean, they started Tatum all year last year at power forward, I think. So I'd have to think that he starts. Grant Williams is the backup for Hayward usually. I'm kind of anticipating that Smart starts, but all right. So Smart would be matched up with Luka, and I think that is something they would want to happen. So that would be my best guess. Grant Williams versus Porzingis instead of Tatum. I mean, actually, that's interesting because Porzingis is a lot bigger than Tatum, so I could see them starting someone else at power forward. We'll have to keep an eye on the news there. Favors Holiday and Ingram in one line too much. I think that's feasible. I don't love it, but I don't hate it because I like all those plays individually. Alright guys, good luck tonight, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow on the game plan here. So thanks for watching.